Wrapping up here on Take Command with Logan Paulson. I am Greg Hoffman. So that's Jaden Daniels. Let's get to Maye and McCarthy. Let's start with Drake Maye because it's the antithesis in a lot of ways. You do not have the trust level. You do not have the you're never plus in terms of the talent around you compared to what you're playing against, because this is another part of this evaluation that we can touch on here with Drake is even though Jaden Daniels played against better defenses, he always had the better talent. Like he was playing almost in an NFL offense against an SEC defense from a talent standpoint, where Drake Maye was playing on a bad ACC offense against ACC defenses. So yes, SEC defenses greater than sign, ACC defenses, but the relative talent that you're playing with versus against, Jaden had it easier, which to me isn't even a shot at Jaden. And people then to be like, oh, well, how are you going to hold that against Jaden? To me, it's just an explainer for some of the difficulties that Drake Maye had. But he did have them. He did have those spots on his tape where the footwork is all over the place, and he didn't overcome some of those circumstances. So how do you try to make sense of, hey, it's there sometimes, and there's all these reasons that make sense that it's not there the others, but at the end of the day, the results are the results.
Yeah, and he's really tough to watch because again, like he's like the ultimate tease, like he'll show you something that is only he can really do in the class, right? And like I've mentioned this a million times, and I encourage everyone to go do this. Watch his big time throws. There's a cut up of it online, and it's just like these are NFL throws. These are NFL windows. This is NFL timing, and I want to retract that timing element a little bit because it's not always timing. He's got this like playmaking moxie, like very Favrean in that kind of way, right? Where everyone says like, Caleb Williams does this great job of being a creator at the position, and I think Drake Maye does it the second best in the class. The problem is Caleb, when you watch him, he's so consistent with his feet. He's so consistent with his timing, like on the easy stuff. Like he gets on base and he shows you ability to consistently just get on base. And that's why he's going to be the first pick in the draft, right? Because he can create, he's got a tremendous arm, but he also can do the easy stuff with relative consistency. And then you look at Drake Maye and the high stuff is high. But and you've watched a ton of Drake Maye film, and you can attest to this. Like, it's maddening to me when you miss a 5-yard out and the guy's wide open, and you turf it, and it's a bad miss. Like I understand you throw it a little bit arm, and the guy accelerates and can't quite get it. I get it. But when you throw the ball over the dude's head, when you turf the football, when we're missing throws, or we got a slant and we throw it high, guys to jump up and get it, and there's like running room, in like cover 2, like get through there and get going. Like that stuff is maddening to me when you watch it because at the NFL level, like I think Kirk Cousins is a great example. Like Kirk does not miss layups. He takes layups. He takes what the defense is giving him and he makes you pay. If you cannot do that at a fundamental level, I have a lot of reservation. The high stuff is great. Like I love it because that ultimately like those are money downs. That's third down. That's red zone. That's backed up. That's when you got to make a big play. That's what you need to see. But to function at the offensive level, you got to hit the basics. And I think that's the thing about him that I find really disconcerting is you see, like, I think, for example, you watch the Minnesota game, which is maybe unfair because that's probably his worst game. But like he's feeling pressure that's not there. Remember the pat thing I was telling you about? He's patting the heck out of the football. He's scrambling when he doesn't need to. He's running into pressure. He's still making plays, but that polish that you get with Jaden, right, where I got a good feel in the pocket, the ball's out on time, it's not there. Now, then you go to like Virginia, and he's throwing the ball over the yard. He looks great. But there's sections where he doesn't quite get it done the way it needs to get done. Or you watch Miami, and Miami's heating him up, and he doesn't have a protection answer. Now, is that his fault? I have no idea. But all of those things are big things to me in terms of just doing basics, getting on base consistently, that I have a really hard time with him in terms of the evaluation.
This is why I've come off of him a lot, because I think I try to spend a lot of time thinking about like, what are we actually doing here, right? Yeah. What is it that we actually want when we're doing the show during the season and we talk about good quarterback play? What does that look like? And it doesn't look like the stuff that the stuff that we like, he doesn't do well. But this is the problem when you watch him, is you go, he misses those throws that we're talking about, these layups. He turfs one, he throws the ball over a guy's head. He gets picked because he leads a guy too much on a slant. The ball gets tipped and is picked off. And you're like, I can't draft this guy. And then he comes back and he makes the sickest throw you've ever seen. And you're like, I can't not draft this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of what do you like. And I think the other part that's really hard with him, and this is, I think you hear more from like the Nate Tices of the world and the folks who have access to the all 22 on a consistent basis with him, is their offense is apparently terrible.
Yeah,
like whatever they were running at North Carolina just did not give him answers on a consistent basis. And so schematically, he's playing in a deficient way where LSU gave Jaden Daniels answers a lot.
I will say this about Jaden Daniels too, though. Like there's times where he doesn't have answers, but dude makes plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he like elevates the offense. And I think, and to be fair to Drake Maye, he does elevate the offense also. But I think that's a great point. You need to make sure the quarterback has an answer, and he doesn't always have that at North Carolina. So
right, and so there's times where like Nate talks about how one of the things he looks for in a quarterback is like, are you doing side to side, like sideline to sideline read? Are you do you have no idea where to go with the football, and so you start left and then you come all the way back right, and you're doing left, and you're just like, is somebody open somewhere? And that's like a telltale sign because no offense is designed that way. If the quarterback's eyes are doing that, that is a bad sign for processing. Except for in North Carolina's offense, they ask him to do that sometimes. Yeah. And so you're just like, oh, that's not very helpful. That's not very quarterback friendly. And so when we talk about the footwork and some of that stuff and it coming back to trust and confidence, you understand why Drake Maye doesn't have it. And that makes it really hard to evaluate because then you have to go like, okay, well, if we were able to set him up in a more confident space, could we get the most out of his talent? And if so, we should probably draft him because he'll be awesome. Yeah. And if not, then we're going to have a disaster on our hands. And he's going to probably not just not be a top 10 guy, but he could bust. And we're back in quarterback hell or back in quarterback purgatory in 3-4 years. And we haven't done much winning in the meantime. I think where I come down, which is going to shock people because, again, people think I can't, like I'm a Drake Maye guy, for instance, is like I kind of come off him because of that, where I would rather someone that I can trust to make layups. And if I had to rank them today, he's the guy I feel least comfortable drafting while also knowing that is the biggest risk because he might wind up being the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I think that's a tough thing. Is like you go back to that scout thing we talked about in the first segment. It's like, you know, if you could do it once, you can do it. And like he can freaking do it, man. And I think that's the thing about like when you watch like, you know, that binary yes, no for the NFL, like Jaden Daniels, I have real questions about can you make consistent NFL throws? Like that's a question I have. And again, he's got a good arm, he's got a quick release, his fundamentals are great. But Drake Maye, I don't have that same question because of his ability to kind of like laser stuff in there, find the position for the football, like small windows, tight windows. And again, this is encompassing all the baggage we just talked about with him, the long kind of languid release, like the more space in the pocket required to throw the football. That's all there. But the NFL throws that he does make are incredible. And you're kind of like, he can do that. And he's going to be asked to do that at the next level. And so that's a yes for him. And it's a maybe for Jaden. And that's where this gets so confusing. Because everything else with Jaden is better. But they didn't ask him to do anything overly complicated in college, right? In terms of these types of throws we're discussing. So I think that's where I have a really hard time with this. Because there's a lot of stuff that makes you go, nope, don't want that. Nope. But then you say, maybe the most important thing is like these NFL style windows, these NFL style throws, and Drake's got them and he does them well. And so you say, well, that's why to me, he's a perfect candidate to say, hey, you got to sit for a year because like, we're going to get these mechanics cleaned up. We're going to get you playing correctly. We're going to do the Aaron Rodgers treatment and you're going to come out like gangbusters, you know, like the $1 Million Man and be awesome. And I think you got to look at the teams. So like, and again, the question to fans I have is like, do you think Washington could do that? I know Peter said yes. I don't know if I agree with Mariota kind of in that role, but yeah, that's kind of my thought on Drake Maye.
Yeah, and honestly, my response to that very quickly is I don't care about 2024's record. I care about where you are in 3 years, and if you have to play Marcus Mariota this year, like, am I psyched about it? Is that going to make our show fun? Is that going to make watching them as fun?
Right.
Like, obviously not. Selfishly, I hope the rookie plays because it's more to talk about. But if I'm the team, if I'm the GM specifically, I want what is best for my team in the next 3 to 5 years. And if that means the kid sits and Marcus Mariota is playing a lot of football this year, then so freaking be it. But that also brings us to the split the baby, if you will. and that is JJ McCarthy. Because McCarthy has a lot of the NFL stuff on tape. That's almost all he has on tape because of the low throw volume and what Michigan asked him to do, because they were constantly more so often asking him to turn around and hand the ball to Blake Corum. And also they were up in a bunch of games and all of those things. But he does have a lot of physical traits. And I think that is the thing that is undersold with McCarthy is when you want the physical talent, like we kind of said, he's got B+ everything. He might have A- on some of this stuff. Like there are, I don't know about elite traits, but like really, really high level traits when it comes to his speed, when it comes to his arm strength. And so I think then it comes down to that processing element and what are we actually getting in JJ McCarthy as a prospect here? What is his ceiling? And also from that mental processing standpoint, could that be the thing that separates him and actually does give him the potential to be one of the top guys in the NFL and thus worthy of a number 2 pick without much second guessing?
Yeah, and this was, when you watch his throws, I mean, this is just maybe very telling. So, like when you watch the cut up of throws and runs for Jaden Daniels, it's an hour and 45 minutes. When you watch the one for Drake Maye, it's an hour and I think 47 minutes, right? When you watch the front one for JJ McCarthy, it's 45 minutes. It's under half, right? It's incredibly short compared to what those guys did because of what they asked them to do at Michigan. And the thing about it is it's so hard for me to watch him because I love him so much. Like I love because it's probably because of the NFL offensive background, but there's NFL throws. The way he's manipulating coverage players, like with his eyes, like, they run like a CO concept. So out in the corner. I think I've mentioned this before, but I love it. I love seeing this from the quarterback. He looks to the flat. The guy matches the flat. He throws the corner. Like that ability to understand what the defense is doing, what I can do to manipulate them. Like that's good. That's excellent stuff, right? Like the throw that he made against Alabama where it's like they're running drive and the guy's crossing the field, the tight end's running a dig, and he throws it right, like literally right at the middle linebacker's face. And the middle linebacker matches the drive route because he should. As the quarterback that's supposed to happen. Whizzes right by his ear. The guy doesn't even see it. Tight end catches it in a perfect window. Like that is NFL big time throw stuff. And so for me, like I love that. And it's probably because like it looks most like the NFL. Like when you watch him at the line of scrimmage, he's checking the different runs. Like Harbaugh's notorious. Like I was talking to Colt McCoy about this when we were playing. So this is like 2013 probably. And he was saying, we have something called perfect. Like that's the play call. It's perfect. And what it is it's 4 runs and the quarterback has to get you in the right run based on front and coverage. And so like you got to be a smart son of a gun to execute that offense. And you can see there's times where he's at the line of scrimmage getting people locked in. And so, his tests, you talk about giving the test that was given you, his test definitely was probably the most conducive to NFL football. It's like the most translatable. And then when you watch him run, like I think he's a better athlete than Drake Maye. I think he's more dynamic. I think he's got a natural playmaking ability. I forget what game it was. Sorry, I probably should have made a note of it. But like, he's skating the pocket. He's remaining a thrower. He pushes the football down the field and just does all this stuff. And you're like, and again, he has bad games. I forget, it was like Indiana where he throws all those picks. Like he has bad games, no doubt about it. But like he just seems to have that kind of NFL panache already. And again, this is a projection game, so Jaden Daniels is a better athlete, probably a quicker release. Drake Maye's probably got a bigger arm, maybe more natural playmaking ability. But in terms of running that offense at Michigan, like, it was pretty slick by him, and like, again, like the leverage throws they got to make, it's tough. It's tough. So.
Yeah. And my pushback to play devil's advocate here would be like, are we just lacking imagination? Because, here it is. It's NFL caliber. Well, we should just take that guy. And it's like, that's not how this works all the time. Just because he did it in college. And it's the same thing as Jaden. It's the same thing as Drake to an extent where we're asking this. If they haven't done it yet, can they do it?
Yeah.
With JJ, he's done it. Now, can he do it at an even higher level, and to what level? Because, there is a volume control with him, right? Like I talk about this all the time with the NBA, right? Especially this year's Wizards. Like Denny Avdia, I'm going to go complete Wizards here, but Denny Avdia is a very good basketball player. And right now he is the Wizards' probably best or second best player. And there's a reason why they're not winning any games. That's not to say Denny Avdia is bad. It's to say that if Denny Avdia is your best player, you are going to have trouble winning NBA basketball games. And so, yes, he can average 30 or he can score 30 points on a given night, but you are much better off with him taking the number of shots and having the ball in his hands at a level where he's scoring 18-ish points and there is someone better than him who is trying to score 25, 30 points a night. You're going to win more games that way. And so with JJ, you're going to now ask him, instead of having to make 6 throws a game, he might have to make 10 or 12. And what does that mean in terms of your chances to win? So when you up that volume, can you maintain the efficiency? And that is the big question for him. And then you juxtapose that question and that answer with, okay, Drake and Jaden haven't done the things that we've seen JJ do by NFL standards, but can they? And that's those answers. If you can answer those questions correctly, congratulations, you win the game. You know who they should take at number 2. And by the way, those are all dynamic questions and answers depending on your offense, your development staff, your environment, who they're playing with, yada, yada, yada.
It's a great point. And again, like I went back and watched Justin Herbert from a couple years ago. I went back and watched Josh Allen just to see like what kind of prospects they were. Because, they were, and, like Herbert, like I think there's, you see the arm talent, but he's kind of robot. And so like even with him, who's a guy that I like a lot as an NFL player, like I didn't really see what he became at the NFL level. Like it was there, like, like now in hindsight, you're like, oh, like this is why you love it. And same thing with Josh Allen was a crazy man playing football. Like, holy cow, you're like, this is like untenable. And then he became one of the best quarterbacks.
He had like a sub 60% completion percentage in college. It was nuts.
It was wild. And he's just ripping this thing. His fundamentals are terrible. He's trucking linebackers. He's like, this is fun to watch, but this is insane. But I think the point there is like the Bills believed in Herbert. Right? They're not in Allen. Right? They let him kind of go through all of his growing pains for like 2.5 years. And when a lot of teams would have moved on, they saw something in him. He turned a corner and started playing good football. And I think like that's ultimately what you're talking about here is like, can this team, the Commanders, support one of these players enough, specifically Drake Maye, Jaden Daniels, so that they can make these plays when they need to make them? And it might be a year and a half from now. It might be 2 years from now. But if you think one of these dudes can get there, like you got to take the shot on him. I think the thing that's so enticing about JJ is it's there. You're like, he's done it. I've seen him do it. He's got a good arm. He's got a playmaking ability. Like, take it. But to your point, like what happens when he's like got to be the guy? Now, Dan Quinn's a smart guy. He said this a bunch of times. Like, we're going to play good defense. We're going to run the football. That's going to insulate a young quarterback regardless. And so, I don't know, maybe you want those guys that the throws are so good. Like the good throws for him are so NFL-y. It's like you could like juxtapose them. Like they're so like that. The problem is that there's not, he's only doing it like less than half the time those other guys are. And so again, the question becomes, do you think Jaden Daniels can add a little bit complexity? Do you think Drake Maye can clean up his footwork and clean up his fundamentals? And do you think JJ can handle a larger share of the offense? And like you said, if you have the answer to that, you should be making more money than you're making right now because every NFL team would want to talk to you about it.
Right. And then, of course, there's all the stuff that we don't know, the interviews, et cetera, et cetera. Which, as we talked about at the top, matters a lot. All right. If you're sick of us talking about quarterbacks, good news. There's only 2.5 more weeks of it because the NFL draft is coming up on April 25th. I will be there for the first round in Detroit, which is really exciting. Have the Hoffman Show live from Detroit on the 25th. Of course, we have plenty more coverage here on Take Command between now and then, including our chat Wednesday with Mina Kimes, which you'll hear Thursday morning, our chat Friday with Dane Brugler, which you'll hear Monday morning, and we got a couple of other awesome things on the agenda between now and the 25th. A couple more mock drafts as well. So we are excited to do all of that. For Logan Paulson, who you can follow on Instagram at Logan_Paulson82, and check out on the Commanders YouTube page as well for all the stuff he's doing over there. I am Craig Hoffman, who you can listen to on the radio 4 to 7 daily on the Team 980, and we'll see you next time on Take Command. Thanks for watching this clip of Take Command, which has a brand new home.
That's right. You can watch on YouTube at the Team 980.
You can also listen to full episodes in the free Odyssey app, which is now enabled with Apple CarPlay. So we'll just, follow you around.